Hello, it is Nick. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. Hope you enjoy what you see when you come here. What we're going to talk about today is the second part to my Lele Pons critique, analysis, recap, commentary, reaction, whatever you want to call it, to her YouTube Originals series called The Secret Life of Lele Pons. And in the first, I reviewed the first episode already, which was called I Have Extreme OCD. In part two, or episode two rather, she talked about how her dad is gay. Now, before I get into that part, I wanted to give a brief note. The actual third episode was supposed to start today or be released today. And for some reason, it's gone. My opinion is I think they removed it for this week to support the Blackout Tuesday movement, which is a movement going on social media, which I will touch on hopefully in a video very soon that I'm preparing. And it's in response and in solidarity for the protesters that are protesting the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So that's my thoughts on that, because it was set to premiere today, so I'm guessing that's probably why it's happening, considering it's on YouTube and it was a YouTube series and they seem to be supporting that movement. So I'm not going to really talk about that movement right here, but I just wanted to give that brief disclaimer. So part two is still the latest part that's been around, and I actually almost didn't make a response to part two because I wasn't really sure about it, and I was waiting for part three to kind of see what's going on since part three is called, from what I've seen before they took it down, I Have Tourette's, which we already knew a little bit about that in the first part. So now let's get into the second part, which is her video titled My Dad is Gay. And a few things that stood out to me while watching this episode of the series, and I have three things that I wrote down here that were really eye-opening or interesting that they were thrown in there. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. But she talked about and opened up about her first time walking in on her dad with another guy. Now, mind you, her mom and dad were married at one point, and then they divorced when she was very young, from what I remember. So, I just got distracted by a notification. So I thought that was interesting, and also, I'm not saying that she shouldn't have shared it, but she used that as the reason why they are so close, her and her dad, which is why they tell each other everything. So I thought that was an interesting thing to mention. Clearly she's laying it all on the table, which I respect. The second thing she talked about was when her Tourette's, which I mentioned before, actually caused her to shout out that her dad is gay in class at Catholic school. And to me, maybe she's just trying to go into a lot more detail, but for her being in Catholic school didn't really seem like a big detail. But then she kind of mentioned how in religious environments being gay is not really accepted, or it's not as widely accepted as maybe outside of the religion. So then I was like, okay, maybe that makes sense or whatnot. And then the third part that stood out to me is how she pointed out that her dad on his bookshelf had a whole bunch of books that he had bought when he came out, or when they divorced and he came out and was parenting Lele without the mom in the house, about being a gay parent. And I just thought some of these things were interesting, and the way it's all weaved together to me, and the way maybe it is all true, I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh on this, but it all seems to be too good. Maybe she is all these things and I'm just reading way too much into it, and I'm taking into account too much of her past experience, my past experience with her, watching her stuff on the internet, that maybe it's tainting my opinion of this series. But it just seems like I'm waiting for the next thing to kind of be revealed that goes, of course, or that kind of fits the narrative involved. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh on her. So what I wanted to do next is, so that's kind of those are the few things that were standing out to me when I was watching the series. And it actually prompted me to ask, okay, there's the third part coming up, which is I have Tourette's. So I have OCD, my dad's gay, and I have Tourette's. So it prompted me to look up what the actual description of the show is and how many parts there are. So luckily I did find it. So it's supposed to be 5 parts. So there's not like so many things they can reveal. Like if it was 20 parts and they were going to reveal something different in each part, I would probably be a little concerned about the actual motive behind this. So when I read this, which I'm going to read to you right now, and I saw that it was going to be 5 parts, that actually eased my mind a little bit into the motives behind this series. So I'm going to first read the IMDb description of the series, and then I'll read the Wikipedia description, which has a little bit more more detail of what the series is, and kind of, I think, is more descriptive of what it actually is. So the IMDb says the documentary stories Lele Pons' journey from social misfit to social media queen and now global entertainer, while showing her everyday struggles with mental health from an early age to her present life. Known for her unfiltered videos, candid humor, and crazy stunts, Lele's storytelling arch takes a more serious tone as she opens up to the world about living with her deepest secret. Through access to private moments, emotional interviews, and never-seen-before footage, Lele reveals her lifelong struggle with OCD and Tourette's, among other mental health conditions, and doesn't shy away from the most intimate details of her battle. So that was kind of the plot summary of the documentary from IMDb. And now I want to read the actual Wikipedia and kind of share some of the interesting things I've seen here. On the Wikipedia, it shares that it is a biographical docuseries about Lele Pons, produced by Shot Studios, which is the same company that produces her other videos. I know that for certain because they have a group of them that are all, I think, Shot Studios content creators. They're the ones that produce the content for them. And they all kind of are in each other's videos. I don't really watch them religiously, so it's kind of a thing. But it's directed by Emmy Award winner Alicia Zubikowski. So from what I know, documentaries have directors normally because there needs to be some angle, some kind of congruency between all the episodes. So I think that makes sense. At first glance, you might be thinking, what the heck does a documentary need a director for? But that's why. And there's executive producers, production company, of course, distributor is YouTube. So the synopsis says, the 5-part series follows Venezuelan-American entertainer Lele Pons' battle with mental health issues, specifically centering on her Tourette syndrome and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Pons was first diagnosed with OCD in 2010 when she was 13 years old and living in Miami, Florida. Since then, Pons has risen to prominence through comedy and music. The series pulls the curtain back on Pons' social media persona and takes an in-depth look at her day-to-day struggles with her conditions, capturing intimate moments of the internet personality with her family and friends. The series explores some of the most emotional points of her journey, going behind the scenes as Pons broke down in tears during a recording session in the studio, as she tried to juggle her conditions, fame, and a personal life. So I thought that was actually a better description and more of a synopsis, of course. And it did touch on her family and friends, whereas the IMDb was a little more vague on that front. So I thought that was interesting. And it did say it was filmed over the course of 2 years, starting in 2018. And Variety announced it as a series in April as part of YouTube's stay home #WithMe movement to release more YouTube originals during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we know is kind of wrapping up and coming to an end. So there we go. This must have been in the works for a few years, and so we can assume that it was ready and getting ready to be released maybe later in the year or soon, but got pushed up potentially. So I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts on this second part of her series. Now I want to turn it to you. Have you watched the series? I know some of you have watched my first episode of this, or my first reaction to the first episode of this, and had thoughts then. Did you watch the second episode, and what did you think? Did your mind change, or are you still skeptical, or maybe you're not sure yet and you're waiting for the next couple episodes to come out before you make up your mind, or maybe change your mind? Let me know. And if you're not subscribed yet to my channel, make sure to subscribe so you get notified every time I post, especially if you ring that bell down there. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and of course, head down to the comments. I love chatting with you all. And with that said, have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you here very soon. Bye bye.